All right, so let's just jump into how you got into track and field because you didn't start with the middle distances. You started with the shortest distances, like 200 in high school.
Oh, actually, it was quite the opposite. So when I first started running, it was in seventh grade. Um, we all had this kind of just athletic kind of course we had to do, just physical training. And so I started off as a distance runner. I did cross country, and then eventually did track. And I've been doing that all since middle school, seventh grade to high school, 12th grade year. And eventually, I want to say going into my seventh, eighth grade year, I would do summer track as well for like an AAU team. So I was pretty much running all year long. Um, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of running, but it was a lot of fun.
And then how did you get into a myriad of distances? I mean, you ran long distance, you ran the middle distances, and you ran the shorter sprint styles. I
hmm
mean, how did you decide what you were going to do when you got to Texas A&M?
So basically, whenever you're being recruited as a student athlete, so I was being recruited by one of the coaches here at the time. His name was Aline Francique. He actually trains a professional. His name's Fred Gurley. He used to actually go here. But so at the time, he was the 800 mid distance coach. And so he was recruiting me. And there was a couple other schools, their mid distance programs were recruiting me as well. And they recruit you based on kind of what are your times in high school, kind of are you consistent? And then what are your like areas? Are you a mid distance runner? Are you a sprinter? Do you have versatility? You can do both. Can you do multiple events? So majority of the programs that were recruiting me were mid distance, and they wanted me to specialize in 800 because that was kind of the best event I had, the most competitive times I had. But out of high school, I was running anything from the 2 mile, 800, 4x4, 400. Sometimes I run the 4x2, but I would mainly focus on mid distance, so the 800 and the 4x4 or the mile. So that's how I got recruited.
How many other schools were recruiting you and where were they?
So I was being recruited. I can't give you a specific number. Um, there's a lot. That's kind of the process in high school. So, um, you get emails and phone calls. I believe after a certain date of your junior year is when the official like start date of coaches could be eligible to um, recruit you, call you for a visit. So there was multiple colleges from like Dartmouth University, um, from Sam Houston. I would get letters in the mail. I would get letters sent to my school. Um, sometimes you might have coaches come watch you at practice or something like that, or come talk to you at practice, which was pretty cool. Um, so I don't necessarily have a full number, but I definitely probably, if not like around 20, probably 20 plus more, just different colleges from all over. It's interesting too because you learn a lot. There's like you learn about the divisions. You learn about Division 1 schools, Division 2 schools, Division 3 schools. Um, you have like NAIA, you have NCAA, um, like you have so many different things. You have different conferences, like Texas A&M is in the SEC conference, and then you have other schools that are in the Big Ten conference, Big 12 conference. So there's a lot of things like going through like colleges and like kind of figuring out like as an athlete where you want to go. Um, Knowing like, okay, well, if I'm in this conference, this is the kind of exposure, this is kind of competition. So it's just a really interesting process, really.
And then you ended up an hour and a half away from home. So I'd say that's a pretty close um, landing spot, is it not? I mean, how far away could you have gone?
Right. Okay, so originally I was thinking about going out of state because I personally was just, interested in like the adventure. But the more I thought about it, I was like, let's just kind of try to stay in Texas. So like let's say something bad does happen. I'm not like halfway across the country and I can't see my mom or my family. Um and like I grew up running in Texas weather. So like all my coaches were like, it probably would do you best to like stay like where you're familiar with, in Texas. And then plus you can always come back home. You're close to home. So I found myself wanting to stay closer to home, which was interesting. Um, and it worked out. It's great because it's easy for my family to come see me run if I have a home meet or I have a meet that's like in Austin. It's literally right up the street from here, so it's very convenient, flexible, and I like the distance. It gives me some space, but it's also very close to home.
And I mean, you mentioned Dartmouth. That's a long, a long ways away. Was that the
Yeah.
furthest away that you could have gone?
I think Dartmouth. I don't remember exactly where that college is.
It's in
But
New England.
it's in where?
New England.
New England? Oh yeah. Yeah, wow. I had Dartmouth reach out to me and I think there was another Ivy League reached out to me. Um Definitely not a 4.0 student, but um it was flattering, that the program wants you to like run so bad and everything. Um I would say that's probably the furthest out. Nothing necessarily out of the country. Just all over the place really when it comes to recruiting. I know Arkansas was recruiting me. I know just really a lot of places everywhere. Um, Lots of schools.
Did your high school have a history of dominant track athletes?
So I went to Cypress Falls High School. So we had a few athletes that were being like recruited by like colleges and stuff. It was mainly like, football players. Um and like you would have like maybe one or two track and field athletes every couple of years. But for me and like one of my other teammates, we were kind of like, I guess with my generation coming in, because there's like one or two other people behind me that were actually like good too. Um, so like it was kind of a big thing for like me at the time because yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of athletes being recruited, especially for track. There wasn't a whole lot from my school. There's a lot of the other sports like basketball or like swimming and stuff like that. And I definitely want to say by my senior year, I could see like a lot of people starting to step up because like they would see like people coming to like our practices or just see how difficult the competition was becoming, just even on the team, like to make it to meets and like get all this exposure and everything. So that was pretty cool. Um, but I loved signing day. That was really fun. You have all your friends and your teammates, family, people come watch you literally sign a piece of paper showing like you're gonna go to school there, where you're gonna run, take pictures. That was a great day.
Were you exclusively going to be a D1 runner, or did you have D2 and D3 offers as well?
I had D2 and D3 offers as well. Um, I personally, just thinking about like not only just running, but just personally, like as an academic standpoint, I wanted to go somewhere where I feel like I could challenge myself. Going out of high school, I was undecided necessarily what I wanted to major in. I had some idea. I originally wanted to major in meteorology, which is funny. Um, that some of the schools I was looking at, they didn't necessarily have a major in meteorology. They just kind of had some like meteorology classes, or you could like kind of minor in meteorology. Um, but then kind of talking to my dad and some people who kind of know me because I was still trying to figure myself out. And that's the great thing about transitioning from high school to college is you really start to learn like who you are as a person and find out like what am I really passionate about. So my freshman year, I actually signed up to do allied health and be an allied health major, and I was thinking about being a PA, because back home we have a PA. Her name's Lindsay Havel, and she's great, and she has amazing personality, and she loves helping people, and like she's been my doctor. And I was like, like I'd like to have that same, like I'd like to be that person for someone someday. I love helping people, I love talking to people. And when it came to school, it just wasn't for me, and I just wasn't enjoying it. And I just told myself, like, I'm not going to just, if I'm going to do something, I may not be the best at it, but I want to know, like, I'm going to give 110%, and I want to know that, like, I'm going to keep pushing forward because I like and I love what I'm doing, and I see a future with it. So I just didn't really see a future with it anymore. I felt like I was me trying to live someone else's passion, like maybe like a parent's passion. So I was like, I'm gonna keep finding myself. And then eventually, it wasn't until my senior year of college. So this is my 5th year. So my last year where I really realized what I wanted to do career wise. Um, so it's interesting. Everyone finds it at a different time. Some people figure it out in high school. Some people figure it out their senior year of college. But you know, God has a plan. So um, I'm happy with what I decide on.
How did you end up at sport management?
So I switched majors, I want to believe the end of my sophomore year, going into my junior year. So I had a lot of my basic credits out of the way from A&M. And then in high school, I took all dual/AP classes except for math. um, and so I got all my English and history credits like out the window. Like that was easy. So I really just had to focus on like kind of the main core classes. Had to do some of my math classes, and just some of the general like psychology classes. Um, so when I switched majors, it wasn't a whole like it didn't really take a big toll or take me back too far, which I was happy about. But I did have some credits that didn't necessarily transfer over because it was a new major and they didn't apply. Like some of the science classes I took, it's like, well, they're not really applicable to sport management anymore. But really, what got me into sport management was just I like the idea that one, like it was cool that I had such a lot of experience within the sport industry growing up or being around a lot of athletes, being an athlete myself, um, going to Texas A&M, and also our Nye Academic Center. We have really great mentors and advisors, and they really help us as student athletes get exposure into that environment of like other admin, other executives. They're really personable, like the head athletic director, Ross Bajork. I know him by name. Like he's definitely someone I can just go up to at school sometimes and tell him, hey, would you like to go get lunch? Like we have that kind of relationship. They make it very easy to have that relationship with them. And they help network you with other people. So it was just after a lot of networking and talking to people who knew me, I really kind of had an idea. I was like, maybe this major would be a better fit for you. And these are kind of things you could do. So that's kind of where it started. And at first I was a little nervous about it because I told my dad, like, hey dad, I'm not gonna be a PA anymore. And there was some hesitation, but I prayed about it, and I believe God has a plan and purpose for everything. And I just felt in my heart like this is something that I think is better suited for me. So I just stuck with it. The classes were a little more general. They weren't necessarily as like I want to say intensive as like taking a bunch of science classes or math classes. But I feel like a lot of people who are in school, they compare their intellect to people who are like nurses or like engineers just because they're taking quote unquote harder classes. At the end of the day, we're all getting a degree. We're all studying. We're all students. So we all are born with a form of intellect. It really comes down to how do you apply yourself and your composure and the way you present yourself to other people. And I feel like everyone has a different form of intellect and everyone is smart in so many other areas than just mathematics or just science. So yeah, I just feel like I got really satisfied, and I feel like I was getting a lot out of myself. I was learning myself better in this major, and I was networking and connecting. And I feel like I was growing as a person. And I feel like at that point I was like, okay, then this is the right major for me. And now I'm on my way to figuring out what I want to do.
There is kind of a stigma surrounding changing your major in college, but the average 4-year student changes their major 3 times over the course of their college career. What would you say to students who've come into college not really sure what they wanted to do and switched a bunch of times?
Um, you're human. Like, um, again, like for me personally, I didn't really know exactly career wise what I wanted to do until going into my senior year. And that was scary because there's so much pressure. Like, you need to know what you need to do. Like, you need to know what you're doing after college. You need to know, like, what kind of internships you're going to apply for. You need to know, like, yes, all these things are really important, but it's also important to know and understand yourself at your own pace. Because if you're in college and you're doing it for someone else, by the time you get out of college and the time you get that job that you studied all these years for, because you were studying and trying to become something someone else told you to be, you're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to put as much effort into it because it's not something you're passionate about. If it's something you're passionate about and something you love, it doesn't matter how many times you may have to try again. You may not be the best at it. You're going to, at the end of the day, find a way to work harder, push yourself, get around the right people to become the best version of yourself. And I think that's the most important thing. Like, it's the same way we set goals. Like, we want to achieve something great because we're passionate about it. So we're going to do whatever it takes to achieve those goals. And that just, it comes from yourself. It doesn't come from somebody else. So no matter if you change your major 3, 4 times, and my brother, he had changed his major, I think twice or 3 times. I think I have 2 older brothers. I'm pretty sure they both changed their major once or twice. Um, my oldest brother was in school the longest. But it's really not about, I feel like people get so caught up in comparing where they are to where other people are, because it's like the standard of, oh, well, I get to this age because everybody else is doing this and they have their life planned out, then I'll be okay if I'm doing that too. Well, you're not going to have joy in that. And if your life doesn't plan out necessarily the way someone else has planned out, because it's their life, it's not yours. But the joy comes from finding your life and your passion, and just taking your time to really know yourself. Once you know yourself, things are just going to flow perfectly for you because you're not trying to compare your progress to someone else.
How did you find yourself through track?
Um, that's so funny. Um, you know, I think track has always been a big part of my life, I guess just since 7th grade. So my brothers both ran a little bit. My oldest brother, his name is Blair. He graduated from St. Houston. Um, so he was running cross country. And then my other brother, Jordan, he's younger than Blair, but he's like the middle of us three. He was running track. And kind of just watching them, we all kind of grew up. I kind of grew up as a tomboy, so we were always literally outside doing like chores, like cutting the grass, or like picking up pine needles, or roughhousing, or playing football. So I always grew up kind of athletically like inclined, or just wanting to be outside just because of my brothers. Um, and I don't know, like I would like to do things they were into. Sometimes they also liked anime, so I would do anime and try to draw like them, even though my anime was just not good. But anyway, I think after kind of seeing them phase out from like sports and try something else, like they both were really into art, and then both of them were also really into theater. And then I was like, well, before I tried those areas, like they tried athletics first, so let me try athletics. And our mom was always big in putting us all in sports. So I was doing sports ever since I was a little girl, but like it was just different sports, kind of just seasonal. And it wasn't until like that 7th grade year when I did running and it just kind of felt right. And when God has something for you, it kind of just naturally comes there. Like it just felt so natural. Like there were times I remember my first cross country meet, even though practices and everything were going great, I cried. I cried to my dad and I told him, I was like, Dad, I don't want to do this anymore. Like it was so painful. And he told me, he was like, you're just getting started. You're literally just getting started. He's like, you don't want to do this anymore. All right. Like after the second meet, you don't have to do it anymore. Like, but you're just getting started. So the second meet comes and I'm running. And this time I don't cry. I was like, that wasn't that bad. Like it was okay. And he's like, okay, like, all right, but like if you still won't do this anymore, like, all right, like third meet, just let me know. Okay. He was plotting. He already knew I liked it. I just didn't want to admit it. And then third meet came and I just start running really well. Like I'd start going from being like, getting like 20th place, 18th place to getting like fourth place, third place, second place, first place. And then, I just started to really have a talent for it. It just was coming so natural. And it was just it was a lot of fun for me. I think just growing up kind of in the family dynamic I had, my parents were divorced. So there was a lot of back and forth for me and my brothers growing up, which was stressful at times, packing, especially if you're an athlete that has, morning practice, afternoon practice, and then, an afternoon practice with like a summer track coach or something like that. You're literally going places all the time. And then not to mention if you do extracurricular activities like FCA or like orchestra, which I was doing in middle school. And then I just did FCA in high school, or speech and debate. So constantly moving around. Running was just kind of always something I felt like kept me grounded and kind of allowed me to kind of just mentally just relax and just enjoy, like, if I was upset about something, if I had a lot of stress in my mind, like I just take it out and work out and then I'm good for the rest of the day. I don't have to think about it. Or school's not going super great. I just take it out on the workout. It's not always mentally thinking about, oh, like I'm so angry, I'm just take it out on the workout. It's just kind of just doing it, just not thinking about anything, just coming to practice and laughing with your friends or getting through a hard workout together. Like you're just not thinking about anything else and it feels amazing.
So that's what you were thinking of when you were running in middle school and high school. Now that you're in college, what do you think of when you run?
Mentally, so mentally, um
I mean, is there anything that you think of? Like I've interviewed a couple athletes that have just said, I don't think about anything.
it really depends. So like for me personally, I get really anxious before I run. Like me and one of my teammates, she was way more anxious than I was. But before a track meet, sometimes you just find her. Her name was Jasmine Frey. She was the indoor collegiate record holder for the 800 for a minute. Anyway, we would like be warming up for a race and like we'd be looking for her and she's in the warm area just laying flat on her back, just like staring at the sky. And we're like, are you okay? And she's just like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Just give me 5 minutes. Like so there's a lot of anxiety, I guess. And for me, I didn't do that. I get in my head a lot. There's a lot of stress, especially when you're competing at the D1 level, to perform and to be able not only to perform but to be consistent. And being a student athlete in general, there's this ideology of perfectionism that you want to have. You train so much and you train with some of the top athletes. You're in the you're on one of the best conferences in the country, comparable to people who compete in like the Olympics or who are professional. You have teammates and athletes running at the same times professionals are running. So there's a lot of anxiety and tension. And there's just so many things like I'm thinking about, like, what am I going to run today? Or like, how do I feel today? Sometimes I try to like allow myself to be like, okay, I'm not going to think about how I'm feeling today. because emotions are just going to constantly be changing. Like I'm going to feel great one day I'm not. So what I try to think about now is like, how did training this week go? And did I do everything I needed to do? Um, and if I didn't necessarily do everything I needed to do, then I can't change anything now. I'm just going to allow myself to just enjoy like the moment, enjoy the atmosphere. And sometimes, a lot of times when I put a lot of pressure on myself to perform at practice, I'll run slower than the times I'm just at practice and I'm just laughing and having fun with my teammates and we're just joking around because there's no pressure. It's like at the end of the day, we're more than capable of performing. We just need to relax and just trust the training. And I think that's what really makes the biggest difference. Um, I used to have a hard time talking to my coach before I ran because I get so nervous and he would just sometimes make me more nervous because he was always trying to make me laugh or something. And the coach I had before him, Aline Francique, he was very strict. So there was no laughing before running. It was very much, you're here to perform. And if you don't perform, you're gonna face the consequences on Monday at practice. So totally different dynamic. But in my head, I'm really just thinking about, the fact that I I know I trained well. I know I've been hydrating and doing what I need to do. I have a great support system around me, and it changes from meet to meet. But for the most part, those are the main things I try to think about. I also try to get in the zone. I wear my headphones, so yeah, just those few things.
What's on that warm-up playlist?
Oh my goodness, it changes every day. Sometimes it'll be Christian music. Sometimes it'll be a little bit of Playboy Cardi. Sometimes it'll be a little bit of Drake. It really just depends. I definitely like more upbeat music when I'm like about to warm up, and then like I take off my headphones like when we're actually like in the middle of like warm up, so I can kind of get grounded in the atmosphere. I don't want to have my headphones in the whole time because I'll be in my head the whole time. Kind of just like warm up and about to start like some like agility stuff, and then I'll put my headphones away. Because also like if I'm with my teammates, I need to be with my teammates. Just like practice. It's just like practice. Don't want to make it more than it is. We don't wear headphones at practice, so like we will have music at practice, but like so I think it's just important to not get so caught up in your head and just kind of like, especially if you're at your own school, like a home meet, like this is your home track. Like this is just like practice. Yeah, you just have a couple people here, but this is just like practice. So that's what I try to think of.
And then speaking of that kind of perfectionism experience mindset, what is Blueprint? How did it start? And what is the overall goal of getting the word out?
Oh, so Blueprint was an organization that me and some of my colleagues formed going into my senior year. So we were talking about it kind of at the end of my junior year, but originally it was an idea to have like a social forum group, a student-led organization for the Black student athletes at Texas A&M, because since we are at a predominantly white institution, there's not a whole lot of cultural kind of opportunities for us to connect with other Black student athletes. Because kind of the way, I guess, the social status and things work here is we have a nutrition complex and we see all of the student athletes there, or we have football games or like other events on campus for like athletic events. But football players sit with football players, basketball players sit with basketball players, track and field sit with track and field. There's not a whole lot of talking, communicating, get to know each other, like unless you see each other at a party or like a football game here and there. But there's not a lot of conversations, there's not a lot of relationships, not to mention only that, just especially like as a Black student athlete, my personal experience is since I've gotten here, it's been really wrapped up in I'm friends with Black student athletes or like track athletes, and then I'm a student athlete, I go to class and I have some other um, students that I meet, that aren't necessarily the same complexion as me, or like they're white, or they have organizations that they're familiar with. And I was meeting some other Black students that are a part of like other organizations like on campus for like Black students. And I wasn't aware of those. And I'm a freshman, sophomore, junior, and I'd never really had the experience to be a part of that. And I don't necessarily blame athletics for that. I just think I got so caught up as a Black student athlete, because that's kind of like, almost, when you're a student athlete, that's kind of your job, um, takes apart a lot of your day and your time. You plan your whole schedule around practice and like having nutrition, getting recovery, and then you compete every weekend. So there's not a whole lot of time that you can mentally like allocate for like other areas, unless you like really plan for it or it's like really important to you. Um, but not a lot of those conversations were being had. So um, we decided, going into my senior year, it was kind of after some of the George Floyd and some social injustice were things of, I want to say 2 summers ago, were going on. First, we had a unity walk that I proposed originally, to one of our athletic directors. Um, it was to support social injustice, but to bring together student athletes to do a peaceful protest on campus. It was really beautiful. And it was kind of right before Blueprint was announced, but it was kind of just to let like the community know, let student athletes know, let our other mentors and coaches know that social justice is not just something for the Black community, or it's not just something for you know the community to speak about. Like, we're student athletes, we have a platform, we are more than capable, we're very educated to speak about this, but in a peaceful way, to bring change. So what can we do as athletes to bring that change? So it was a very beautiful day. Like, it was perfect. We like walked around campus, um, and we had a whole event for it, and it was great. We had t-shirts and everything, and I loved it. And then moving forward from that, months later, we launched the Blueprint. And then we had 12 Main Productions make a video ad for us and everything. And from then on, we had different events that we had planned throughout the year. And then Carmina Sample, she was the president of Blueprint. And then we had Chase Lane, he's on football team. He was the treasurer, I believe. You had Keldrick Carper. He was the, I want to say, secretary, and then or public relations officer. And then let me see, we had Sierra Johnson, and I think she was secretary. I don't know. And then for my role, I did social media and marketing. So that was what was interesting, because I kind of, going into that, before I joined Blueprint, I kind of was already interested in 12 Main Productions. I was getting more involved with like doing stuff with like athletics through student athlete engagement, just with my mentors and stuff. I'd volunteer for events. And then I was starting to get more involved with things like 12 Main Productions and just helping them out with different events that I was volunteering for, or just being around like the student athlete mentors and advisors. And it wasn't until like I went to a couple meetings with specifically 12 Main Productions that I was like, I kind of like the media and videography, photography, graphic stuff. This is kind of cool. Like, and I just asked myself, like, what does Jean like to do for fun, like in her off time, or like what is something I'm always doing? And I was like, for one, like I love photography. I like taking pictures, like editing pictures. I like editing content. And eventually I knew I wanted to do media production. So just having a role in Blueprint, something I was really passionate about, whether it was social injustice or just getting to build the Black community at my school for Black student athletes, and kind of bring our Black community on campus and student athletes together as one, was just something that was really just a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I really feel like I found myself not only through Blueprint, but just through college, all these things, just God opened all these doors. And I feel like that really just allowed me to become like the leader that I am today. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it did.
Okay,
And
cool.
then Blueprint's three pillars are educate, equip, and empower. How do you see
Yes,
those
ma'am.
playing out in not only your everyday life, but also the other exec board members and the members in general?
Right. So educate is really all of our events. We kind of like to have some form of like um kind of educational like advice or discussion or some type of, I guess, content that people can take away from and just to better educate themselves or just to better equip themselves personally. Um, equip is we want to give people the tools to feel like they can succeed, and whether that's like having mentors or having just people they can talk to or opening other opportunities to meet, people on campus or stuff like that. We want to equip people with those opportunities. And then empower, I think the biggest part of Blueprint is the fact that we as student athletes have the ability to empower people, whether or not it's just as Black student athletes for Blueprint, whether it's for other student athletes in general, whether it's for people in general. It's a gift to be here. It's a gift to go to Texas A&M, and just to have an organization that is built towards just inspiring and motivating people to see themselves, their authentic selves, is more than just a student athlete, but something so much bigger. I think is a really phenomenal thing, and I'm really privileged to be a part of that. So I'm really thankful for Blueprint, and I'm really glad it's not just so it the primary target audience is, yes, for Black student athletes, but we do have inclusive and exclusive events. The exclusive events just are more targeted for Black student athletes. So, for example, we'll have an event over, Black hair. That's not something necessarily a lot of, I would say white or Caucasian or some other races could necessarily um, talk about to the same extent because they don't have the same experiences. Now we'll have like other events like a cookout or a family dinner or movie night for all student athletes, or we'll have some like educational events. Like we had a money talks conversation this year actually, and it was really cool. We had a speaker, actually one of my old teammates. He graduated from here. He was, I think, one of the first corporate finance majors. Um, he's a Black student athlete. He graduated with a corporate finance degree. He was one of the first Black students to do that, or something like that. Amazing guy. He taught the lesson, and it was amazing. It was an educational opportunity. It was open to all student athletes. So it's just a great way to see like student athletes can give back, um, whether it's from being a Black student athlete or just being someone who wants to step up and help somebody else like see themselves and equip themselves to become something better. That's why I'm really thankful that I have the opportunity. I just want to be able to give someone else an opportunity to feel like they can be their authentic selves and they are so much more than just a student athlete. I don't ever want a student athlete to just come here and be so caught up in their athletic abilities that they don't recognize that there's so much more power within themselves and there's so much more they can do. And then after college, life is what happens next if you're not a professional or you don't go pro or, if you still want to keep running, that's great. But, you also want to know what you're getting a degree for and everything. So,
And Blueprint was founded a year after you started dealing with the eating disorder. Yes?
um,
It was kind of
so,
around the same time.
not a lot of people know about it, but yes. So Blueprint happened in the midst of my eating disorder, and that was, I want to say, going into the year of COVID. What year was that?
Well,
Um,
you noted it as November 2019 that you started noticing some
right.
disordered eating tendencies. So
Mhm.
yeah, going into COVID.
So I want to say year 2020 is when Blueprint was being launched. Well, it was like within the summer and then going into the it's been a minute. Yeah. So um but yes, to answer your question.
And then let's just talk about that 2019 going into 2020. I mean, we all know what happened in 2020, but you were dealing with all of that plus your disordered eating. How did you realize that this was a problem that you were having? And did anyone talk to you about it?
Right. So this was kind of happened going into like my junior year. There was a lot of pressure I was putting on myself as a runner, and just in general as a person. And I was my freshman, my sophomore year, at A&M were like really great seasons for me. My freshman year was my best season thus far. Like I dropped 4 seconds from high school. I was traveling pretty much every weekend. I was competing. I was scoring for the team. Um, so it was really amazing, and it was great. And then sophomore year was a little stagnant. So I was like, okay, like I would try to like run a little bit more here and there, but I still wasn't really where I wanted to be. And then I think just as a runner, especially a lot of women, they are very so critical of their body composition because there's you see in the magazines, you see the professional athletes, there's this image and there's a shape that they have, and you see the top athletes that they have, and you want that, you want to be better, you want to compete more, and you want to like see yourself improve, so you like want to be like, what can I do to get to that point, because I want to be great just like them. But what I realized in that process was like, um, God already has something great for me. He gave me the body that I have. He gave me everything that I need. So if I'm trying to become someone else, I'm not taking advantage, or I'm not being thankful for what God has already given me. So I'm going to miss out on the blessings that He's already given me. Um, but I was emotionally dealing with a lot of things at the time. Um, and I told myself I really wanted to change, I really wanted to do this. I was about 150 pounds. Like that was my race weight. It was pretty consistent. And like when you're a runner, especially going your freshman year, I don't know about other people, I ate a lot. So um, I just felt like I was maybe eating too much because I was a little heavier looking than I feel like some of my other teammates, but also I was pretty tall. So I felt like it just felt kind of uncomfortable, like seeing my teammates, they're like all like 130s or like they're 128s, and I'm that 150 girl, I'm tall. And there's like two other girls that were like around my height, but everyone was around the same weight except for me. And there'd be a couple of moments where like, some jokes would be made about like, that I was a bigger girl, or like I was thick, and I kind of like, freshman year, I'm running great and everything, so it doesn't really matter to me. Like it still will bother me sometimes, but like I wouldn't say anything because I was running well, so it didn't really matter. But then like, over time, going to sophomore year and just then going to junior year, um, it was like more than just little comments. It was just like my personal like self-esteem. I had um so much pressure for myself that I wanted to be better for the team. I wanted to compete. I made it to regionals my freshman year, um, for outdoor, and that was pretty far. And I wanted to make it again sophomore year. I just missed it sophomore year. And then junior year, I just told myself, like I really want to be good this year. And I just felt like for whatever reason, like maybe it's like I'm just carrying too much weight, I ran so much, but like I just felt like I was so heavy all the time. It was just I had a lot of muscle. And so I just eventually, it wasn't I stopped like just eating. It was just like I didn't eat enough calories, And over time, when you're competing and you're training, as much as we do, we train pretty much Monday through Friday, Saturday, and we lift 3 times a week. And when you're a mid distance runner, you run a lot. So if you're not fueling yourself correctly, you're going to lose a lot of weight. And you're not going to just lose a lot of weight, you're going to lose a lot of muscle. You're going to lose, a lot. I found myself not only losing so much weight, I lost myself mentally because it got to the point where I was happy to see that I looked small. I was so happy to see that I was small and that I looked like my teammates, even though I knew I wasn't healthy. Like the thing was, I was mentally telling myself I was healthy. I was mentally telling myself I was good. I was so excited that I was, I couldn't fit my jeans anymore. I was so excited that like my legs look smaller. I used to have a huge insecurity about my legs, my arms. A lot of people don't realize we say things to people like as a joke. Jokes are great and everything, but you never know what someone is going through mentally, and how much like maybe one other joke just has been adding on to a bunch of jokes that people have been saying for years. And so it was jokes. It was just never my coaches never really said anything about my weight because again I was running well my freshman and sophomore year, like always. It was kind of just outside people. It was kind of just sometimes like a few of my old teammates would just joke around with me about different things and bother me. And then I personally, wanted to just be smaller. I wanted to feel like I fit in more. I wanted to be the best athlete. And you train with the best, you want to look like the best. So yeah, I got to a point where my teammates kind of noticed that I was spiraling. And you go from being a 150-pound athlete, like stellar, to I want to say I lost about 20 pounds in like a little under 3 months. And yeah, it was pretty scary, because I didn't realize at first I didn't realize I was losing so much weight until like I was weighing myself pretty much every day, and then just seeing the numbers drop so drastically, I was getting excited about it. And that is just not good. And then it got to a point where I remember the lowest I got was 130, and I told one of my teammates, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like look how much weight I lost. Like I'm 130," and like because she was 130, but her 130 for her height, like that's where she needed to be. She was a phenomenal runner. Like that's where she needed to be, but she was shorter than me. So like, and she knew like my race weight was like 150, and she was just like looked at me. She's like, "Jean, like what are you doing?" And it wasn't until like that and just other things I was kind of just like, okay, like uh and it was just slowly from there, like the saddest part was just seeing like, you feel like at first I think it was kind of like I felt like I was getting faster, like because I wasn't carrying so much weight. But then like everything went from here to just down so fast. Like running was painful, running was exhausting, running was something I felt like I dreaded pretty much every day. I didn't like coming to practice. I felt tired every single day. I stopped. We the nutrition center. Usually, like I would eat with my teammates. I just started eating by myself, and I'd go whenever they weren't there. And then I go so people didn't have to see the way I was eating. Um, and yeah, it was a really dark time for me, and it was really hard. Your parents would come to your meets and they know like, oh, she's gonna get first, second, or third. Because I was good. I could compete. I knew how to compete. And like going from that to, getting second to last or like, sixth, fifth, eighth place, and then not even competing, not racing, and then going from not racing, not competing to not being able to practice to medically being diagnosed as anemic to medically being diagnosed as anemic and unable to train. It was just so much. And that was right when COVID hit. So I stopped running and I had to take a break. And the thing was, it was so bad because I kept trying to run because I had a mental thing myself like, if I don't run all this distance or all these extra miles, and keep my calories low, then I'm gonna keep adding weight and I don't want to gain weight. So for a long time, I did not want to gain weight back because um I just there was this trauma of just being bigger again and like being a heavier girl or seeing that number 150 because for a long time I associated that as, unpretty or not where I wanted to be. And it was really hard to break that. And it took literally a half having no outdoor track season, and just kind of being myself in College Station, over the summer, and just um, I spent a lot of time with God that summer. I spent a lot of time in my Bible, learning myself, um, talking to God. I would have I think my stepsister came to see me, I believe, and then one of my other teammates, she's pro, she came by to see me. Um, Me and my parents weren't in the super great position at the time, but over time, my mom definitely like we never were really close until that happened, and there was a lot of stress when I was growing up with my parents and the dynamic of our household, and um, just me and my mom, our relationship just really blossomed. She was really there for me, like no one has ever been there for me, and other people were there for me, like no, they haven't been there for me before, like my trainer, literally his name's Saul Luna. Literally, he's been such a blessing since my freshman year. Since when I was going through what I was going through, always motivating, encouraging me, just helping me through that process. Um, it was just so much that I didn't realize was mentally broken within myself because I allowed my identity as an athlete to dictate how I felt about myself as a person and my performance. And it wasn't until people like him, or my mom reminded me that like God has made you perfectly and wonderfully made, and your performance does not dictate your worth in this world. And it really took a long time for me to understand that, because it's one thing to say that, but it's one thing to understand that and to know that because of your faith and to know like the faith that you're standing on. So it was a very long process. It took a long time for me to get comfortable with eating more calories and eating actual food. I kind of was just like, I just kind of cut back a lot on carbs and I didn't eat a whole lot of meat. I ate a lot of vegetables. That was really like I was eating, but it's like it progressively just got to being not a whole lot of food anymore because I was just eating a lot of less calorie dense food. And then if I got like a hunger cringe or something, sometimes I would ignore it, or at times I would take Tums, so my stomach kind of would settle down and I would ignore it. I would drink coffee, so I curbed my appetite. So my appetite and everything was really messed up. Lots of doctor visits and everything were very interesting. But yeah, when Blueprint was launching and stuff, I had a lot of thing I was still trying to recover from. So going to my senior year, I was working my way to recover from that so I could run again. And like I had a plan with my nutritionist and my trainer, Saul, and my coach. And I had a contract that they made me sign, and there was like a meal plan they had laid out for me, and they wanted me to follow it and go to see my counselor and to follow up with my trainer for getting like blood tests and stuff like that on a regular basis if I wanted to run again. And I said I was going to do it. So I didn't follow the plan exactly the way it was written, but I did try. It was just very scary, mentally, like going from eating like one egg and like I want to say like a piece of toast in the morning, and or like, two egg whites and like a pepper and like half a cup of fruit, to like three eggs and like two pieces of toast and three pieces of bacon with a cup of fruit. Like, it was mentally scaring me. Like, and it took a long time for me to progress my way up to there. Um, but it was just like the support was literally amazing. It was a really amazing. Um, I really appreciate my mom. I really appreciate my dad. He took a little longer to understand kind of what I was going through, but he got to the point where he knew how he could kind of help me talk to it. It was just a different, kind of way. And my trainer literally the best. He definitely, I want to say, has just spiritually and mentally been there for me, with running and just as a mentor. Um, but I definitely today am in a much better place. It was just challenging being on Blueprint, coming out of that, and being a leader, and seeing your colleagues, because we're all student athletes, successful in their sports, have great physiques and everything, and just so confident in themselves, and we have an organization that's about uplifting and building other athletes to be their authentic selves and to educate, equip, and empower them. And it's like, like I'm putting on this facade that I'm okay every day. And little do y'all know, like, I can't travel, I can't compete with my team, and like I'm recovering from eating disorder, and like um it's something I have to think about every single day, and pretend and be there for people, and pretend like I'm okay, and pretend like, you know, I'm this leader, I'm this perfect, person, just so I can make someone else feel good. But it's like I'm struggling every day, I'm happy for my friends, I'm happy for my colleagues and everything, but it's like, it hurts me because I miss that part of being able to contribute too. So it was really hard. I really didn't tell them about it, um, because I don't ever want people to feel sorry for me. Because again, I just say this a lot. God has a plan and purpose for everything, but I also look at that experience as a blessing because it helped me better become the person that I am today. And when whoever does hear this story, um, I want them to just know that like you're not alone, and it's okay to like feel that way, and you're not always going, just because you're a leader, it doesn't mean you don't go through things. It doesn't mean you don't experience pain or loss or things. It's how you um compose yourself, and you work towards finding a solution, and you remember like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but the thing is you are the light at the end of the tunnel. So you're not going to change until things aren't going to get better until you tell yourself you need to change. And that's kind of what it was for me. I had to tell myself, okay, like if I want to run, like I can't, I don't feel good, so like I need to eat more. And then when I'm eating more, do I feel better? Yes, I do feel better. um and just because I started to bulk up and everything, it's a healthy bulk up. Like, it's not, doesn't mean I'm getting fat. Like, I'm gonna run, I'm gonna be lean. The biggest thing I learned was like everyone's body, everyone's shape, and everything is perfectly made for that person. And so my peak as an athlete, running 150 when I was a freshman year, like that was my peak for my body. Whether or not, my teammate, she's same height as me or an inch taller than me, and she's like 15 pounds lighter than me, her peak is at that body weight and at that size, and that's for her. But there's so much beauty in the fact that, God made her perfectly and beautifully made, but he made me perfectly beautifully made in my shape and my form. And I'm really grateful now that I know that, and like I'm okay with that. um so it's been a really long journey, but I've had so much support. I want to say last year, so this is my 5th year, so my 4th year, my senior year. This is my senior year. But my senior year last year, a lot of my teammates didn't know about it. And so I just told my 800 group, I sent them my testimony that I wrote, and just kind of, I want to motivate them, like let them know, like this is what I was experiencing coming into this year, and kind of some of the things I was dealing with. And even though season for me last year was not great either, like I ran a lot, and it was trying me getting kind of back into running, because my body literally went through a shock of, wow, like you're very nutrient like deficient in like everything to all of a sudden, okay, like you're feeding me now, so now we can actually start like doing stuff again. But it's like it doesn't happen overnight. You're not going to run those times overnight. I had to work really hard to get, back to just being healthy. And then now, if you're talking about training with people who are not only already healthy, but are like in shape, so trying to get back in shape. So I wasn't running nearly the times I wanted to be running or competing. I think my best mark was like one of my first meets back, but it was nowhere near like where I wanted to be. And it was honestly constantly that scaring of, okay, well, like, I'm running good, but like, what's my weight? Okay, like I'm running better, but like, what's my weight? So I would like cut back and I would add, cut back and add. And it was just this constant cycle of, are you eating enough? Are you not eating enough? Getting blood tests. I would have to get my blood tested pretty much once or twice a week. I'd have to go see a doctor probably every month or every couple of weeks. And they would ask me the same questions. Well, are you eating enough? What's it called? Are you doing anything different? It was very offensive at times too, because I was trying, and it was that barrier that I still had, that fear of eating more. It was hard because I had just given myself this for a long time. Like I just did not want to eat more. I did not want to, um, and it was like I was trying my best to do it, but like I always felt like I wasn't enough. And it wasn't until I made it to the conference team, and I didn't even know how I made it to the conference team. I was really thankful for that opportunity. That I after my last race, because I thought out that I was done, I just told myself, like, you know what, with COVID, I have another season eligibility, but I'm not doing it because this year just mentally, like, it's been too much for me. Like I've been through too much. It wasn't until after that race and just thinking about running and thinking about how far I came and just doing warm up and everything with my teammates again the next day. Because the people who didn't make it to the finals, we would still come to practice and everything and warm ups with people who were still competing. So when I did that, I just felt like, you know what, like I feel like God is still not done with me. Like I felt like that race felt too good. Like it wasn't what I wanted, but like it felt like it was too good for me to stop here. Like, so let me, what would happen if I did this again, but the right way this year? So that's what kind of this year has been for me. I didn't do blueprint this year just because I wanted to kind of focus on finishing my last classes and like getting ready for my next steps after college. And then also just kind of to spend some time for me. But I'm kind of like in the back of the scenes. So I go to their events, and like I still talk to the student athletes and I still mentor them, and I still talk to my athletic staff. I just kind of serve a different role for them. And then this year, like on the team, I considered myself as a team leader. So whether it's for the 800 group or just student athletes in general, or people on the team, like they call me Mama Jean. It's really cute. It's so cute. But yeah, I hope I answered your question. I ramble a little bit.
No, I mean, I was honestly hoping that you would ramble, because that's when the most authenticity comes out. And I really felt for you during that testimony that you just gave. During the time that you were not competing, when you were medically ineligible, what were you doing? And how long of a time was that? I think in your testimony you said 8 months. Is that correct?
Um, Technically, yes. So it was during the summer. Um, um, so like during COVID, yeah, because I think before, yeah, I think it was during COVID, they told me I was ineligible to run because of my medical condition, because my body fat percentage was very low and it was unhealthy. It was below 10%. Um, Also, I have a medical condition called sickle cell trait. So that is a condition where your blood doesn't produce enough oxygen, and it's the trait, it's not the disease. So already with that, I was dealing with as an athlete. I had like things and side effects, even at my peak that I was dealing with, such as like cramping. Sometimes it'd be very severe cramping and dehydration. So when you have sickle cell trait, when your body doesn't produce enough oxygen on top of um, having a low body fat percentage, um, you can have extreme muscle breakdown. And then on top of that, the anemia was from, well, my body's not carrying enough oxygen in my blood on top of having sickle cell trait. So I was in a really dangerous position to run because I was overexerting my body already just because I wasn't eating enough. So they wanted me not to do anything. I think the biggest thing was they wanted me to stop running in general because I needed to gain weight and I needed to get my body back to homeostasis. And in my mind, I was like, I know what y'all trying to do, but I'm still gonna like, I don't have to run like a whole workout, but I'm still gonna get a little mileage in. It won't be every day, it'll be every a couple of days. So I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. And it was like I love running. I love running. I love distance running. Um I'm not talking about cross country. I love cross country, but I mean, yeah. So I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't listening. I was being very, very stubborn. And it wasn't until like I kind of realized and just talked to my parents and everything. And I was like, I really need to get myself together because I can't keep doing this, like if I want to come back, like there's people who are depending on me and everything. There's people who on COVID, when COVID canceled outdoor season, there's people who are like one of my teammates, her name's Brittany Parker. When she graduated, she didn't get to run her senior year, her spring season year. And like that was like the most devastating thing for her. And it broke my heart because like she worked so hard. She fueled herself. She was like an amazing student in class and everything, and she did everything right. And like I saw her like she was like at the peak of her year, like, and she was like my training partner. So I'd always stay with her in practice, and we'd always travel like during my freshman sophomore year together. Like, it broke my heart that like she didn't have that opportunity. So I told myself, like, why can't I take advantage of this opportunity? Like, next year we come back, like, let me like enjoy this year that I have. So it was a couple of things like that, but I wasn't cleared until I well, not only signed the contract, I had to get blood work done through the school to make sure my levels were okay. So during that whole process of the summer and everything, I had to I had to eat, and like they gave me kind of a nutrition plan a little bit to follow. Um, but they were kind of just telling me I need to eat more. Didn't really know what that meant. And then they kind of gave me like something to follow. So I was trying to follow that, but there was just a lot of mental barriers that I had because of this kind of fear of just gaining weight again, whether I saw it in my face or I saw it in my legs or I saw it, like it was really scary for me because I just mentally had put myself in such a dark place about my figure and kind of who I was as a person and where I wanted to be. And I just knew like that's not, who I was is not where I wanted to be anymore. And yeah, so it wasn't until I finally got a good blood test because all of them were very bad. I was failing all of them because I just was nutrient deficient, but then one of them was like right where it needed to be. And I think it was because I was starting to eat sandwiches with cheese again. But anyway, like, because cheese is bad. And anyway, um, so I was starting to eat a little bit more. And then, I just was like, okay, really got to do this. So I started to eat a little bit more, got a little bit more energy. And then they started to let me, my numbers are better. So they started to let me train just a little bit. And then I signed a contract, and then we started to train stuff. But the thing was, like, all through that year, my blood tests, I still had to get blood tests. My blood tests were up and down because I'm starting to train, but like I'm not eating enough. So like during the training cycle, we get these things called DEXA scans. So throughout the year, they kind of tracks your progress of your muscle to fat ratio. Like, how's your body progressing? And if you increase your body fat, that doesn't necessarily mean you're like gaining weight. I mean, there's kind of a range athletes would like to stay in at their peak. But again, everybody's body's different. So for me though, like my body fat was already so low. And so like it got up to being healthy going into season, but it's like now we're running. So I'm burning calories again. But when you're burning calories, that means you gotta eat a little bit more, right? So still kind of working through that phasing. I was like burning calories and like I was eating, but I still was low because I was working out more than just not doing anything at all. So when we're getting DEXA scans and everything, I'm always deficient. And my teammates, they're gaining like 6-8 pounds of muscle, like, and like they're getting strong and they look good and everything. And like I was thinking, I'm doing the same workouts you guys are doing. Like I'm trying to eat with y'all and everything. And like instead of gaining muscle, I kept losing muscle. And it was so frustrating to me because I was like, I don't understand why I'm losing muscle. Like I don't get it. Or like we do another DEXA scan and like I try to be like, okay, I'm gonna eat a little bit more, whatever. And so like I'm working really hard to do that. And then I get DEXA and I gain 1 pound of muscle and my teammates gain 4 pounds of muscle, and it was kind of just like all that stuff. It was like I constantly felt like I wasn't enough, you know. And it was just so hard. I just was so frustrated. I was like, I remember the biggest thing for me mentally, I had the barrier of one of my teammates this past year, like she's so pretty, like all my teammates, they're gorgeous. But one of them I felt like, if I had her figure, like I'd be really happy with myself. So like I tried so hard to kind of fit in her figure and everything. And like, want to be like around her size. So I would try to like eat not as much because I wanted to look like her. Literally wanted to look like her. I had no idea how much she weighed, but like I wanted to look like her. I'll never forget one day we were talking about practice, and one of my teammates like asked her how much she weighed, and like and she said it, and I was thinking, I was like, wow, like you only weigh this much, you weigh this much, but like you look so much smaller than I do, like, and I weigh less than you because I've been training myself to not eat as much because I want to look like you, and I was like, that's so unhealthy. That's so bad. I think I had a breakthrough for myself that day because I was like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? Like, why do I care? Like, so I started working up, and because I was like, no matter how many pictures and stuff like we took as a group, like it always looked like she was smaller than me. But I was like, and it would bug me. It would make me so mad. I was like, why am I getting so upset about this? Like, she's just another human being. Like, that's her body. Like, that's just the way she was made. Like, she's a gorgeous shape, but like, that's not my shape. That's not what's going to work for me. That's not, why am I so obsessed with looking like somebody else if I can't even be healthy? I can't even be myself. Like, that's so sad. It's so unfortunate. So, I want to say, it was just a constant up and down testing of, oh, your blood work it's okay. And then it'd be like, your blood work went down. So we have to sit you out for a couple of weeks. Or your blood work is okay, but you need to go get another blood test and then you need to follow up with the doctor. And then every time I have to go get a blood test, if I wasn't, because my levels were still off, and my hydration and stuff, like my blood was just so bad, like I would have to get stuck like 4 or 5 times because I couldn't find my vein because my blood wasn't as plump and everything. And it was just so frustrating. It was painful, frustrating. I got to a point where I was so mentally and emotionally numb from just getting blood tests done, from talking to a doctor asking me if I was eating enough, and then like talking to people telling me like, oh, you need to go eat a cake or something. You're too small. So it was really challenging. I will say like I had really good support. Like my coach, even like he knew what I was going through, and very supportive of me to run. Um, and I love that about him. His name's Milton Mallard. He's amazing. We definitely had a couple of bumps in the road here and there, but he's always supported me through everything, through Blueprint, through everything, and like I'm really thankful for him. He really helped me through that process too. Um, but yeah, for the most part, um, it was mainly God that just, he was there with me from rock bottom to where I am now. So,
And going forward, I mean, what can we look for from you?
so this year, well, okay, do you want me to say like, I guess running wise or career wise?
Running wise in life, content production, which is new.
Okay, okay, so I guess I'll start with life. So currently life, I applied to 2 internship positions for the SEC in Birmingham. It's for a part-time internship paid opportunity. One is for digital communications and one is for student athlete engagement. And I kind of have a little bit of experience in both areas. So waiting to hear back on those potential opportunities. If not that, I'm currently looking at some jobs just back home, and I'm kind of trying to formulate a really good financial plan. Personally, one of my goals is to get rid of my debt, whether that's student loan debt or like pay off my car loan debt. I just want to get in a really good position financially so I don't necessarily have like debts that carry past my lifeline. I want to focus on when I have a family, I can focus on that, putting away money for that. So I just want to be really smart with my finances. That's kind of one of my really big goals coming out of college. Then on top of that, so I do photography. So I've been starting to kind of build upon that. I'm working on a website currently, and kind of doing some things with that. I'm also interested in learning about like videography and a little bit more about graphic design. I did a little bit of graphics and content media for the Blueprint. So if you guys ever want to see some of my work from previous year on Blueprint, is some of the content I made on the social media website, on through Twitter or Instagram. And lastly, running. So this year running has also had a couple of obstacles, very, very funny couple of obstacles. So I am eligible to run indoor and outdoor this year, but I still, so I'm in a very much healthier place than I was. My levels have been pretty good all year long. It hasn't been a eating thing. I'm kind of past that. I feel like mentally, whenever a person kind of goes through something as traumatic as that experience was for me, it's kind of always in the back of your head. But I'm in a different place with my eating now. There's actually I have my own personal nutritionist back home. It's a family friend of mine. So I've been kind of working with him, and he definitely I give him pretty much all my credit, because when I was getting my DEXs back at school, he helped me get my levels right, back to being healthy, back to being consistent. I was gaining muscle. Um, I wasn't taking any substances or anything I wasn't supposed to take. I was just eating like the right way, and like he helped me understand like the foods I need to eat. it's just crazy because like I didn't even know like, and it helped me just become so much more confident in myself. Like he told me like, like I don't want you to ever give up on yourself, and like I don't want you to feel like you're a failure because you're not a failure, like, and this is your last year, so let's make it your best year. And that meant a lot to me. And he's like another dad to me. Literally, like one of my best friends. We went to elementary school. It's her dad. And so like he's been wanting to help me with my nutrition, and he's been knowing I've been running and everything. So he's really just been a blessing. It's just another person encouraging to me. So my nutrition and everything has been great, and I'm really thankful for that. Just, I personally have dealt with a lot of other health things related to just my physical health this year, and I haven't really been able to run. Um, Actually, this past weekend was my very first time competing all year long, so it was a really big moment for me. A lot of my family came to see me because they knew kind of how important this weekend was for me. I've been wanting to run for so long. It's been a really hard year mentally, just kind of supporting your teammates. And then like, you have some days where your coach Jean, just helping out everybody, cheering on everybody, and having to go to the doctor, having to go get more blood tests, and or having to take 2 months off. I was training really well when we came back, like over summer. I trained really hard. I was working out. Um, I felt like really good going into season, and then I caught a cramp because of my condition with sickle cell trait, and I was out for 2 months. And that was 2 months of no training, nothing, blood testing. My eating and everything was fine. And like, I lost muscle because I hadn't been able to train. And, like all my teammates were training. But there's been just a bunch of different little things, like whether it's a cramp or whether it's, there's things that I haven't been able to control. And I know I'm doing everything else right. But I trust God because at the end of the day, like I'm not running to win a prize. I'm not running based on solely like my performance. Like, yes, I have goals in mind that I want, but I give all that and I give all the glory to God because for one, He has given me the ability to come back to be a part of this team. And then all the times I've been sitting out and not able to train, or I just would go, it was just an opportunity for me to be there for my teammates, whether that's to work a home meet and do work shot put and see how amazingly talented my teammates are shot putting. And like, I'm like, wow, I didn't even know like they could throw that far, or like, working the triple and long jump or setting up blocks for my teammates, or seeing other teammates of mine, like who've gone through injuries and like they're upset and like they're waiting, to get back and get cleared. Everybody's waiting to get cleared so they can train again. It's like, you see that whole face, like, they're upset and then they get cleared and they're practicing well, and then they get to run. You're so happy for them. Like, so see my teammates, who get to run again, made me so happy, and just see how they're thriving, or just my other teammates who've been healthy and just see how they're thriving. It's been wonderful. Like whether I've been Coach Jean one day, whether I've been Mama Jean the next day, whether I'm Jean the track athlete this past Saturday, like it's been a blessing, and I'm trying to enjoy my season. I still have some goals in mind for my year. I don't have a whole lot of time that I wish I had, but I'm gonna use the time that I have to make the most of my year. And I'm really just thankful for the process. I've learned so much from being here. Um, it's a blessing. Like I can say that I have the opportunity to train with Olympians. One of my teammates, a thing though, love her, amazing person, amazing person. Literally, I get to train with her every day. Like that is such a blessing. Like I'm really so grateful for that. I have teammates who have been to Olympics or trials and stuff like that, and I'm still very, very good friends with them. I can just text them randomly. So it's just I'm just really thankful. I'm at a place where I feel like I'm really content with just where God has me in my life. There's things, of course, I still want to do and things I'm trying to explore, but everything has a time and place. So I'm just gonna keep working hard, and I really hope there's an opportunity for me this year to contribute to the team the way I would like to contribute. But whatever way God has that planned out for me, I'm really grateful for. So
And is there anything else that you think that I missed about this interview? Any questions that you wanted to elaborate on? Any questions that I missed?
no,
We
I
are
think
at the end of the interview.
yes, man. I think that was great. I like the questions. I hope I didn't ramble too much.
You're good. And then I'm actually doing a fun thing where each of my guests, I'm compiling a playlist of songs. What song would you like to contribute? It could be one of your pump up playlist songs. It could be something that you listened to during that time when you were getting out of your eating disorder. It could
Oh,
be anything.
so there is one song that I do listen to. Um, it feels really. So I listen to it when I'm really sad, but I love the lyrics. I'm trying to look for my name. Give me 1 second. Um,
Jeannie, are you still there? Oh no. Did we lose her? Oh, we did. We did lose her. Oh no. Jean, come back.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what
No, you're
happened.
good.
I was trying to find that song. My phone has been acting up. Oh my goodness. Um, it's the song is called "Breathing." Um, I just don't remember who it's by. I'm honestly just gonna look this up really quick because it's too good of a song. Like, I was trying to look it up on my phone, but my phone is like acting up. But that is honestly been such a beautiful song. I really hope the internet's still working on this thing. I'm not to restart. Okay, yeah, looks like it's working. Perfect. Okay, give me 1 second. I love music. Music is very, very personal to me. I love music.
Yeah, that's why I'm really excited to. I'm 10 episodes into season 2 of this podcast, and I wanted to do something interesting. And I just thought that music is so personal, and to be able to compile just a single song from each of the next 52 guests is a really cool way to like look back on this season and take away something that music is so powerful.
It is so powerful. That is so beautiful. You said that too. I'm okay. Ooh, yes. Okay, it's pulling up. Okay. I don't know why my phone is acting like this. Yes. Okay. It's called "Breathing" by HAMZAA.
Hamza.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Yay.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I just looked up, your episode will come out on January, February, March, April, May 18th. So you have a little bit more than a month.
Okay, cool. That's like after I graduate. That's perfect. So
Yay.
I can probably share this with people I haven't shared it with before, and I'm definitely more than happy to give you a shout out or anything.
Yeah. And then if you can just send me a picture I can use for social media, you can either DM me or email. And then there's one other thing that I needed to. No, I think that's it. Yeah, so you have about a month before this comes out. And oh, if there's anything else that happens between now and the 18th, just DM me. I can add it to the script.
Okay, cool. I really appreciate you taking the opportunity to meet with me and
Thanks
everything.
for
This was
talking to me. Thanks for reaching out initially. That's why I put that out. And then you responded and I was like, ooh, I can't wait to talk to her.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate it. You know, I haven't really shared that story with anyone. Like only like a few people know, but like, you know, it's I felt like God inspired me to write it. Originally, I was writing a scholarship essay, and then I felt like God was telling me to write about it. And then I didn't get the scholarship because of some like formatting requirement I messed up on, I think, for the documentation. And I was so irritated. And then I was just like, but I wrote this amazing masterpiece and I can't even use it. Like, and y'all they rejected my application because of the formatting. And I was like, but you didn't even, but the story.
It's still your story.
Yeah. I was like, that's fine. It wasn't for you. That's fine. So
We're moving on.
We're moving on. Yeah. So
Awesome. I will get back to you once this episode is live. Once again, if there's anything that happens between now and May, just DM me, I'll add it. And then if you can just message me a picture of you either in action or a headshot, that would be great.
cool. Would you like me to send you my phone number?
Yeah, that'll work. Did you
Awesome.
I think you may have included your email in our conversation, but yeah, phone number works as well.
Okay. Okay. Awesome.
And I'll talk to you in about a month.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I had a good time.
Have a good rest of your day, and I'll talk
You
to you
too.
soon.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye.